Lie and deny. That's the name of Annemarie's game. She absolutely tried to gaslight Crystal.
I'm not. For the record, those are Crystal's words, not mine. I never said that.
Let's talk about it on this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The episode starts with Kyle paying a visit to Sutton's house. The last time we had her there was the infamous...
Name them. Name them.
Well, what
Name
you
'em.
did was ridiculous.
Name them.
Not having...
Name 'em.
well, be quiet. So,
Name
let me
'em.
talk, Jesus.
Kyle asked to go into Sutton's fridge, and she said it was beautifully organized but pretty empty. Sutton said that if she knew Kyle was going to go in the fridge, she would have put more food in there. There would only be food in there if she knew people were going to see it? Okay. Sutton lets Kyle know that Annemarie was coming for her about her esophagus again at Kyle's event. Kyle talks about Sutton losing it over little things over the years that were a little ridiculous, and kind of points out that Annemarie is probably doing the same thing this season by not letting go of the esophagus conversation. Kyle talks about Sutton losing it over little things over the years that were a little ridiculous, and kind of points out that Annemarie is probably doing the same thing this season by not letting go of the esophagus conversation. It also sounds like Annemarie didn't confront Sutton at Kyle's event, but she was just talking to anyone who would listen for 4 hours.
She said, well, it's because of my small esophagus. So her small esophagus, Penny, she says that she has a small esophagus. Have you ever heard of anybody just having a small esophagus?
Garcelle and Crystal FaceTime, and they talk about Kyle's event too. Crystal brings up the fact that Annemarie was bringing up or insinuating that Sutton had an eating disorder. Crystal drops the bomb that when she met Annemarie a few months ago, Annemarie said she was a doctor and not a nurse anesthetist. She said that she was an anesthesiologist. Crystal said she researched a narrow esophagus and found that the next word that Google populated was genetic. So there's probably a genetic component to it. She brings up the fact that Annemarie said she spent hours researching this topic and asked her work colleagues, and they said it wasn't a thing. Whereas Crystal could do a simple Google search and find that Sutton was telling the truth. It's at least a possibility. Dorit is having her gala for the Homeless Not Toothless Foundation, and she talks about PK taking a main role. He's being more present, and she feels like he's listening to her. All of a sudden, after showing one therapy session on camera, all their marital problems seem to be solved. I feel like this is a setup because they're now still all those rumors about their marriage being on the brink of divorce. I feel like Dorit is inflating how well they're doing so that when they announce their separation or that they're divorcing, it'll guarantee her another season on the show. She's losing her grip on Kyle, who is the last sort of friend or connection that she really had in the group. With Kyle pulling away, Dorit is not as relevant, and that makes her spot as a diamond holder not secured. This is her insurance policy. We got a scene with Crystal and her brother where they talk about him meeting up with his ex-fiancée again in Asia. The whole thing is just to show that Crystal's been an overbearing sister over the years. I genuinely do not care. I do like the scenes with Crystal at home with her family, but I think this whole overbearing sister thing is just not of interest to me. Okay, on to the main event. On the way to Dorit's event, Kyle and Mauricio ride together, and she talks about how it was disappointing that Mauricio did not show up for her celebration of life for Lorene, but is attending the Homeless Not Toothless event. Mauricio kind of nonchalantly says that, he's been traveling a lot and he's been having to play catch up, so that's why he had to be away for her event. Kyle drops a bomb that she's traveling the next weekend, and then she's on her way to Spain. Clearly, based on Mauricio's reaction, he was shocked and had no idea she was traveling to Spain, but he played it off like it wasn't a big deal. Cut to Kyle's confessional, where she says Mauricio is always heading off to different locations and she doesn't get a heads up.
It's a little taste of his own medicine, to be honest, because there are many times where all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm off to Portugal. I'm leaving for Chicago. Like, I don't really get a heads up.
When Annemarie approaches the girls when she arrives at the event, Sutton is heated and she starts off hot. Annemarie seems to not remember her words at all. She says she has heard Sutton say 3 lies. 1, that she wasn't yelling at her in the moment when they were going at each other. 2, that her doctor told her she could drink while taking the medication gabapentin. And 3, that she has a narrow esophagus. Crystal tries to get Annemarie to be clear about what she was saying and clear up that Sutton wasn't lying. And Annemarie starts going for Crystal. I can't stand how much she repeats she's a board-certified nurse anesthetist. Okay, Annemarie, we get it. You've said it like 40 times in the 7 minutes total you've been on screen. It doesn't give you the authority to criticize Sutton's medical care. She is not your patient. Was Annemarie in the doctor's office when Sutton's doctor said she could have a drink while taking the medication? Yeah, it probably isn't recommended to drink while you're on any medication, but it sounds to me like her doctor said it wouldn't overly complicate things for her. Crystal has reached her wit's end and ends up calling Annemarie a When you see Kyle's face and Erika's face, they are shocked because that is so unlike Crystal. I think Annemarie really gets under her skin and she just couldn't take it anymore. Annemarie also said that Crystal said Sutton had an eating disorder, and the way she said it with such conviction, she actually believes that Crystal said it and not her.
I'm not. For the record, those are Crystal's words, not mine. I never said that.
What is with this woman? Oh, she is unbearable. Annemarie pulls the passive-aggressive approach by giving something of a non-apology apology and takes a dig at Crystal in the process. The fact that she scooted up to that group all happy as if she was coming in to meet friends was comical. She does not understand that these women do not like her.
Here we go. Erika.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. What? Don't be afraid. No one's afraid. Nice.
At the end of the night, Sutton tries to squash the beef and make sure that everyone is okay within the group, and Annemarie is insufferable and doesn't want to stop being passive-aggressive. She also accused Crystal of being jealous of her because she didn't go to med school. What? What straws is this woman grasping at? No, Annemarie, Crystal doesn't like you because you're speculating that Sutton has an eating disorder and it's something she's sensitive about because of her own struggles. 8.5 is absolutely delusional. The episode ends with Annemarie calling Sutton to apologize for, quote, her part in Esophagus Gate. I literally rolled my eyes. She is the whole part, but was actually fishing for Sutton to apologize to her as well. I'm glad Sutton didn't and stood her ground. Next episode, the confrontation between Crystal and Annemarie continues. Annemarie is so condescending, and I don't think she realizes that she's not resonating with the audience. She really has a big head and thinks she is high and mighty above people, or at least comes across that way. Anyway, this was a solid episode. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I'm actually looking forward to Crystal hopefully putting Annemarie in her place next week. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch up next week. Bye.